Okay, it's Wednesday at 1 o'clock, so you know what that means. It's time for Drummer Nation Live. Next week is Labor Day. We're going to explore in today's edition the significance of that to musicians, to people who for whom play is work and work is play. Where do we fit? Are we laborers? Are we management? What are we anyway? Stay tuned, let's find out. It's time for Drummer Nation.
Hello everyone, my name is David Victor. I'm General Manager with the Craviato Drum Company. We wanted to offer a one-ply, solid shell product, but we wanted it to stay true to our mission of offering handmade drums of uncompromised quality built here in the USA. So take a listen to our Center Stage Series drum set.
These Regal Tip Session sticks feel great. They kind of put me in the mindset of a thinner and lighter 5A. Go to regaltip.com, order a pair, or go to your nearest music store. Pick up a pair and let us know exactly how you feel about the stick.
Introducing the Star Festival snare drum from Gary Astridge, a handcrafted and precision replica of the rarest and most iconic of drums, Ringo Starr's 1963 Ludwig Jazz Festival. Each instrument is authorized and hand-signed by Ringo Starr and will benefit his charity, the Lotus Foundation.
Memphis Drum Shop is the world's premier provider of percussion instruments. With 6 showrooms of gear, mycymbal.com, the Memphis Gong Chamber, and a first-rate repair department, turn to Memphis Drum Shop for all your percussion needs. Okay, and with that, we're live. I don't need the headphones. There's a bit of a delay in there. It's always nice to hear yourself so you don't do that, pop the microphone. But there's a delay and it gets a little crazy. So I want to thank Evan Stone for last week. He was my wingman. I call him a wingman because we're winging it completely. He brought in a topic I was not privy to ahead of time. So I'm going to do more of that with Evan and others, where we just talk about whatever one of us comes up with and wing it. I like that, man. I'm a jazz guy. Dizzy Gillespie famously said, we never play anything the same way once. I like that. So today's topic is labor. Because Labor Day is coming around the corner. It's Monday, this is Wednesday, so it's next week. I have a few things to talk about here. I'm going to read a few little things if you don't mind. Labor Day is the first Monday in September. It's a creation of the labor movement and is dedicated to the social and economic achievements of American workers. It's a yearly national tribute to the contributions workers have made to the strength, prosperity, and well-being of our country. First Labor Day celebration was September 5th, 1882 in New York City. Most other countries celebrate what they call International Workers' Day or May Day on the 1st of May. And I've been in Paris before for May Day, and it's a big deal. It's the same concept, but it's celebrated on that day. Back then, when they started doing the first Labor Day, they were marching and calling for less work and more pay and an 8-hour workday, and the prohibition of convict labor, meaning free labor. So how does that pertain to us? Are we laborers? First of all, we're going to get to all that. First of all, I would say a lot of people can't distinguish what is labor and what is capital or management. If you provide goods and services by working for wages, you're a laborer. And I don't care if you're a secretary, if you're even an executive in a corporation, if you're not participating materially in the business for profits, then you are a laborer. That makes us laborers. And indeed, we do have a labor union that most of us are in. Before we get to that, let's look at the role of music in labor. I got some of this from the local 802, which is the New York Musicians Union website. Labor music and labor culture have been powerful forces in American life for 80 years. Not sure when this was written. In the 1930s, Pete Seeger and Woody Guthrie and others formed the Almanac Singers, and they supported union efforts around the country, writing many songs and singing at rallies and union halls. So music has been an incredible part of this. Early union organizer, Joe Hill, said, you can make a speech, people forget it the next day. You put the information in a leaflet, people hold on to it for a week and throw it away. But if you write it in a song and put that information out there that way, people hear it, remember it, and sing it, and it lives on. So music is very important to labor, aside from us being laborers, which we'll talk about in a minute. Nelson Mandela spoke of the role that music has in that historic struggle. Music uplifts even as it tells a sad tale. You may be poor, you may have lost your job, but that song gives you hope. Politics can be strengthened by music, but music has a potency that defies politics. And if you look at early blues, work songs, these were laborers out there singing in the fields that helped their workday. Blossomed into quite a few things like blues and later jazz and all kinds of things. If you look at the civil rights movement, you see a lot of, from the 60s, a lot of songs associated with that. We Shall Overcome. The anti-war movement of the late 60s, a lot of songs associated with that, especially in the folk crowd. Bob Dylan and all those guys. I'm thinking of the woman who was Bob Dylan's, Joan Baez. So there's plenty of music that has contributed to the success of the labor movement. But let's talk about the fact that we're labor. We have unions, and most all of the musicians I know who are pros are or have been a member of their local. Now, there's some pros and cons associated with that, but what the unions have always done for us is tried to get us into situations where we were employees and not just independent contractors. So this is old stuff to grizzled veterans, but if you're a young person and you're just looking at this, your role in the world as a musician is you're going to be peddling your labor. There's art involved as well, but there's labor. Even like on a baseball team, the players are labor. They're hired guns, and that's mostly what we do. The problem is that the Fair Labor Standards Act does not apply minimum wage requirement to independent contractors. So most of the time when we work, people want to call us independent contractors. As employees, musicians are covered by minimum wage, overtime rules, subject to income tax withholdings, payroll tax, so that on the backside you can get FICA, unemployment, medical or Medicare, state unemployment, workers' compensation, whatever states mandate that workers get provided. And people who are not musicians worked for this for decades, and many people died for this. But there have been some court cases where courts looked at the role of band leaders or church music programs in terms of whether or not here's one that examined the status of orchestra leaders and members for purpose of federal employment taxes. It says, while orchestra leaders select the right to hire, discharge, and fix the compensation of his members, as well as primary control over the details of the operation, including its musical arrangements and the furnishing and supplying of supplemental equipment necessary for the performance, that makes them in control and we're the laborers. So that particular ruling said that we were eligible for federal employment tax and all that stuff. But the summary of the whole thing is that whether or not the musician is an employee or an independent contractor is fact-sensitive determination that must be made on an individual basis. Numerous factors must be considered, each having its own weight and often interacting with other factors. Okay, there's that. I'm not trying to tell you what to be, pro-union, anti-union, pro-labor. I just want you to realize as a musician, you are involved as a laborer in the marketplace, and Labor Day is around the corner. It might give us pause to think about these things. As far as union membership, generally speaking, a union contract will be worth 30% more than a non-union contract. So they're fighting for higher wages, better benefits, better working conditions, job security. Whether or not you're in a union, we all want to fight for those things, and those are the things you're going to encounter when you're out there in the workforce. You have to decide where you stand with that and what you want to do. Sometimes unions will set scale, which is what musicians expect to be paid. Sometimes it's very low. Sometimes you might think it's too high if you're hiring the people. It's a sensitive topic. You can go and watch television news and find on the news networks a lot of pro-labor, a lot of anti-labor sentiment. Keep in mind that all of those people are in unions. Even on conservative networks, and I don't want to name any names, but those commentators who generally speak out against labor unions are members of AFTRA, which is the American Federation of TV and Radio Artists. Go figure. A lot of us have dealt with gigs where we're playing a union venue versus a non-union venue, and this has happened to me. Playing a non-union venue, you got your drum set up, and the microphone needs to be moved over 2 inches so you can properly hit your snare drum or your hi-hat with the left hand or whatever it is. Non-union house, union house, you say, can somebody come over here and move this mic? You don't touch it, man. That's their job. You're not supposed to touch it. It's not your stuff. They hired professionals to touch it. That's a union gig. Don't mess with it. So yes, sir, they come over and they move it. Non-union house, if you don't know, you say, hey, can you move this mic? And they say, hey, so move it, man. What do you want from me? That's happened to me, both sides of that. So, again, I'm not saying what's for and what's bad about unions. I'm saying Labor Day is coming up around the corner, and musicians are laborers, and it would be nice to take a minute and think about labor and where you fit into that on Labor Day and not just look at it as a sale at the mall. You can read about this. A lot of people have been through a lot of suffering so that we don't have, barefoot children working in shoe factories in the United States, or people working 70-hour work weeks, or, that's what they wanted. I have some posters from way back when. 8 hours for work, 8 hours for rest, 8 hours for what we will. Keep in mind, these are from days when unions were much more effective, I think, because the work conditions were so bad. So now we have a lot more protections for workers, and the 8-hour day is one of them. Here's another one. Living wages, 8-hour work days, organized. These are look like a group of various types of workers, various ethnicities. So the unity message is clear there. And then here's another one I pulled off the internet. An injury to one is an injury to all. Justicia. Boycott non-union lettuce. It looks like from the year 2000. So wherever you stand on that, I just wanted to make a few points about that. Some other little things on my mind. I have a story, I call it my Remo and Roy story. The other day, somebody was asking me what kind of drum heads I like on my jazz kits. And I said, well, I like the calf replacements. Calf's a pain in the ass and expensive and hard to find, but the calf replacements made out of Mylar, and I said, Remo and Roy both make them. And the person looked at me like, what are you talking about? And I realized that I was speaking of Remo Belli, whom I knew, and Roy Burns, who was a dear friend. Roy would call all the time. My son was tight with him, sent recordings back and forth. I miss that guy a lot. Pardon me. And Remo Belli, founder of Remo, I met through Jeff Hamilton and took the tour at the factory, and we always ran into each other at trade shows and such. Remo would come around to my booth and we'd chat, and I'd go around to his booth and we'd chat, or we'd run into each other and share some moments here and there. And I was fortunate enough to interview him for Classic Drummer magazine that's on their website for free. And they loved it at Remo, and it was my honor to do that. So, but the point was, I realized that I was speaking of Remo and Roy instead of Remo drumheads and Aquarian drumheads. And it occurred to me how privileged I am to have really known these guys. They've both passed. So one of the things I love about being able to do this show, following my stint as an industry guy with a cymbal company, is that I get to meet and talk to all these great drummers and great industry people. So Remo and Roy, no longer with us. Here's to you guys. Damn few like you. Miss those cats. Miss them a lot. few other little loose ends. People have asked me a lot of questions about my gear here. Listen, if you want to do a podcast, most of them are audio only. They're a lot easier to do. But you can start with anything, man. Use your iPhone, get a little tripod, get a little light. I mean, just jump in. That's what everybody does. And I warn you to be aware that it's a one-way street that never ends. You just want more gear and better gear. I am using something called Switcher Studio, which allows me to pull up all these images and transfer to what they call assets. And it's very cool, and they've just updated it. So today I'm playing with it and having fun. Microphone in front of me very quickly for those who give a shit about this. Lewitt 240 LCT. It's a large frame condenser microphone. And you can look into the benefits of condensers versus dynamics. That's up to you. In podcast settings, studio settings, out in the field. All those things have different requirements. I'm running that into a DBX 286S, which is a vocal processing unit that has in it a strong preamp to keep things quiet, a compressor, a de-esser, a enhancer, which is kind of like EQ, a noise gate. I have a fan running. You can't hear it, hopefully. And an output for volume. And that runs into my iRig Pro, which is an interface for the iPad, which connects wirelessly to my iPhone and comes out to you. And it's very easy and very fun. So it is addicting, though. I don't know how many people care about that, but that's if you have any gear questions, let me know. And it's always changing. I always want more stuff. Let's hear from the rest of our sponsors. Drummers seeking a quick and easy way to muffle bass drums on the fly, look no further. Muffbone offers an effective way to instantly dial in your sound in just a few seconds while seated at the kit. Find out more at muffbone.com.
Our latest innovation has opened the door for all drummers to have the same access as top musicians in the world. Custom cymbals. Now available to everyone. Your next sound just got more interesting. Sabian Custom Shop.
Hi, this is Stanton Moore. I've been playing and teaching drums for over 30 years. My new site, Stanton Moore Drum Academy, is the perfect online drum learning platform for any level drummer to learn how to play the drums the same way I did. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of you as subscribers on the site, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun.
Okay, couple more things to talk about. First of all, I haven't checked for any comments. No comments. Most everybody watches this in post. It's posted. I got a delay there. I don't want that. It's posted to all kinds of places. And that reminds me, when you find this, like or share or favor or subscribe or whatever it is you can do on these things to help us out, okay? The new podcast show, the present one right now, has Matt Wilson as my guest, and he did a great job, and I am so fortunate for the compliments I've been getting from that interview from Matt come from people like Joe LaBarbera and Adam Nussbaum and Hamilton and Soph and Paul Krybeck and shoot, I'm leaving some people out. But just to see that these people are watching the shows really gives me further cause to do it. Wingman coming up. I'm going to use Evan Stone again. He loves doing it. We have fun. Ricky Rocket said he would do one for me. He's in the middle of a whole bunch of stuff right now, though. If you want some show topics covered, let me know. That's my dog barking upstairs. Something's probably being delivered. Sign up for Drummer Nation newsletter at drummernation.com. You go to our website, and you'll see that, and you'll get a free white paper on social media for artists. If you do the Patreon thing, please go on there, and man, you can subscribe or support us. It's crowdfunding. You give them a card. It's totally legit. And they'll hit you for $4 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month. You'll never miss it. I know the subscriptions add up when you do this one and that one, but you will love yourself tomorrow for doing that. So keep that in mind. I am a gigging drummer. I had some health issues this year, but they're behind me, thank God. And I do have some gigs coming up, leading a jazz quartet at a coffee shop. Not a big, giant gig by any means, but it's a gig that's mine, and we play whatever we want with my favorite guys. So I'm looking forward to that, and it's great to be back in the driver's seat playing the tubs again. All right, I don't think I have anything else. It looks like I'm going to get out of here on time for a change. Next week is Labor Day. Do something to enjoy it with you, friends or family, and think about labor and where you stand with that. Okay, thanks for watching wherever you're watching, and I'm going to run a scroll of the people who cross-post this on their site from time to time, not necessarily every week. We don't want to crowd anybody, but these are our posting partners, we call them, and if you'd like to be one, let me know. And we'll take it out to the credits. See you next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.